And welcome down to my what's in the bag. So at the start of this year, I've been testing every single element of my bag, from the driver all the way down to the putter. It's after coming out of an equipment contract last year, so I've got to try all these shiny things. And here is that culmination of all those tests. Now, before anything else, before we continue with this what's in the bag, I'm very pleased to announce that I currently have a massive giveaway currently going on. So everything that you see in today's video is up for grabs in the giveaway, which is currently going on Instagram and on Twitter. And I'll throw up a little schedule of when the giveaways are actually landing. Now, this is the biggest giveaway that I've ever done on my channel, and I don't want you to miss out. So to enter, first of all, like this video, get down into those comments below, let me know which part of my bag that you like the most, and then hop over to Instagram or Twitter, or both if you're on both those platforms. Look out for the posts and how to enter. I'm so excited to be able to do this giveaway, and I just want to say a massive thank you to all the brands for getting involved. So here we go. Now, the first club that I'm going to start with is the driver, so the SIM. Now, this driver, probably the biggest winner out of all the tests that I did. I was absolutely shocked by how much this driver outdid the others. Now, I tested this against the TS3, tested it against the Maverick, and then tested it against the SZ Speed Zone, the Cobra. Now, all those drivers are very good drivers, and I know that a lot of people get on with them really well, but the combination of this head and this shaft, it just absolutely suited my game down to the ground. Because obviously I was expecting differences between the clubs, but well, we'll be testing them. But to have that much of a difference, it was unbelievable. A little bit about this SIM driver, if you don't know already. So we've got this carbon crown, we've got this beautiful chalk white color, which I'll get onto in a moment. This is obviously to save a lot of weight in the club head so it can be redistributed elsewhere. Now, what's new on the SIM is this big fin, the SIM fin, the fin of the SIM, the Simmy finny. We've also got different materials incorporated onto the sole of the club. Again, more carbon and a bit of plastic. This again is so TaylorMade can redistribute weight along the club head. There's this single track here just behind the club face. And then we've got the twist face. Now listen, how much of a difference there is between this driver and the M6 that I was using last year, for example. Well, actually between this and my M6, there was quite a big difference. But generally speaking, if you get fit correctly for these clubs, is there going to be that much of a difference? I'm not sure. At the end of the day, we all know that most drivers are performing pretty similar at this moment in time. You know, the companies have pretty much pushed up to that limit. However, when you get a combination between this club head and the shaft that I've got in this, it was just an absolute winner. Now, this is an 8-degree head, and I cranked it down to about 7 degrees, again, just so I could reduce that spin a little bit more. So the tech talk, we can go on all day, and this next bit is, of course, subjective, but I actually think this is probably the best looking TaylorMade driver that I've ever seen. It is just absolutely stunning when you put it down. I think this really narrow gap between the actual crown and the face with this chalk white, I think it frames the ball beautifully well. You've got these graphics along the back, which normally I'm not a massive fan of on some clubs. Like, I wasn't a massive fan of it on the Maverick, but on the SIM it just seems to work a little bit more. I'm not massively keen on this little SIM logo here. I kind of know what driver it is. I don't need to be reminded when I look down on the top of it. Other than that, the whole package is superb. 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 So on to my 3-wood. Now this is potentially,
I don't understand. I 3 potentially.
the most exciting club in my bag. Because let's face it, Ping aren't known for producing sexy clubs. Everybody knows their quality, everybody knows how good they are, but you know, it doesn't usually get the blood pumping. But this thing is bloody brilliant. The feel and the flight are superb on this. But one of the features that I actually love the most about this club is just how shallow that club face sits behind the ball. It looks good off a tee, but it looks absolutely stunning off the fairway. And I tested this up against the SIM and the TS3 in the Titleist. And this is the LS Tech version. I actually thought this would be one of the most difficult clubs to hit, but it actually ended up being the easiest. The forged face that it has on this really took me by surprise. The feel of it is brilliant. It's so good. And again, is that something that you normally associate with a Ping club? Maybe not. The sound off this as well, it was like a real whip crack, like a whoop-ah. Yeah, one of them. Even the top of the club, you can see it's got this slightly triangular type of shape to it. It's also got those turbulators along the top. Club head is at 14.5 degrees and I've left it at that setting. So even the features that I didn't think I'd be that keen on as far as the head shape are concerned actually just frames the ball really well. And Now this is going to sound absolutely stupid, and I know it's going to sound stupid as I start to say it, but I have one complaint about this club, and that's the fact that I hit it a little bit too straight. Now yes, I know that sounds stupid, I know it does, but let's say I want to draw the ball a little bit, or I want to fade the ball a little bit. That's the only slight difficulty that I have with this club, because it does just fly straight. But if that's the only problem, if that's the only complaint that I have about a club, the fact that it goes too straight, yeah, that's very much first world golf problems. On to the driving iron. So this is the MP-20 driving iron, but one of the main stories, one of the main talking points about this stories is the shaft. So this is a handcrafted hazardous, and I actually got this off the Mizuno tour truck when I went to get fitted for my irons. And I have absolutely no idea if a handcrafted shaft makes any difference at all. But the guys on the Mizuno tour truck were really trying to sell this shaft to me. They were going big time on it. And it costs a hell of a lot more than a normal hazardous. And to be honest, I was like, well, is it going to make that much of a difference? But the way they were talking about it, the way they kept going on about it, I started to buy into the story. So what that meant is by the time that I got to the golf course, I was convinced that this driving iron was going to be the best driving iron I'd ever hit, ever in any universe, ever. And that's saying something, because I absolutely love my P790, my TaylorMade driving iron. But this thing, because I probably bought into it emotionally, fit like a glove. The distance on this was superior than the P790. It was better off the fairway. It felt better. And it also gave me the ability, well, I'm not going to say it gave me the ability because I've already had the ability, but I would say the confidence of getting it back in my stance and hitting stingers that came off so low, it was like inverted. And I don't know if that makes any sense, but it sounds cool. It went low. It went really low. So to have that variability within the driving iron and to have that nice gap in between my 3-wood, which is a relatively long 3-wood, and my 4-iron, it's going to be pretty good going forward. I hope so anyway. On to the main course, and we have the Mizuno MP-20s. Now I've got a split set in these, so I've got the MMCs up until the 7-iron, and then it goes into the pure blade. The irons are different than most of the other clubs that I tested within the Build My Bag series, because I knew that I wanted a set of Mizunos. No one's ever turned around and said, oh, these Mizunos just feel crap. Mizuno have one of the most accurate slogans in sports marketing, you know, nothing feels like a Mizuno. Nobody actually argues with it. So I went down to Bearwood Lakes where Mizuno has its National Fitting Centre, and I tell you what a place. A beautiful golf course, it was a great fitting centre, and they built all these clubs on the tour truck for me. It was an amazing experience to go down, to pick their brains, and then to eventually get on that tour truck and see them at work as well. I mean, it's a treat that very few golfers will have the pleasure of experiencing, and I felt so lucky to be able to do it. The only thing I was slightly reserved about is the fact that they made me have a split set. I wanted to get all the shiny blades. I wanted it to be shiny. I'm like a magpie. I'm actually like a bloody magpie. But fortunately, the fitters talked me around, and the numbers did suggest that maybe a split set would be better. And although I've not actually got to use them as much as I would have wanted to before lockdown, as soon as I got these out on the course, the feel of them, it was amazing. It was so good. The only difference that I've made to these irons is I've taken the pitching wedge out and I've put one of the Vokey wedges in. And here we go, the murdered out SM8s. So these Vokeys have different grinds and different lofts, and I'll kind of bring them up on screen here. But one of the big advantages of the Vokeys for me is the way that they've started to position differently. I don't know why I'm holding up to the camera, you can't see it. But they've moved the CG positioning within the SM8. So actually on fuller shots, you get a much more penetrating and much more stable flight. So rather than that ball just spinning up off the club face and going off to the side, these actually pierce through the air a little bit better, and I like that flight. I'd like to see that flighted wedge. And like I said, I've actually replaced the Mizuno pitching wedge with the 46 degree in the Vokey. The shafts are different as well, so they've got the wedge flex shaft in there rather than a continuation of the X1. And those wedges go to the 60 degree, and that lob wedge is an absolute weapon. Weapon? Now, the last club that we're going to be looking at is the Scotty Cameron putter. Now this one, I've only been able to test it inside, so within this room. So this for me, just a basic Newport, looked the best. And over a 5-foot distance on a flat surface, it is absolutely lethal. Now again, it hasn't been fit, so that's something that I might look to do. But I'm determined this year, with the Quest for the Open, with all the competitions, to try and keep a stable back. Now I'm not going to say that if something comes out, like a driver or a 3-wood, that I think, oh, that looks good, that I won't try it, that I won't test it. But it's going to have to be noticeably better than my other clubs to even stand a chance of getting in my bag. Now the ball that I'm going to be using going into this year, this is obviously a foam stress ball version, is the TP5 with the new Pix pattern. I've used the TP5 for the last 3 seasons, so I know its capabilities and I'm comfortable using it. This is potentially one area of the bag where something different might come in, because I've never actually had a proper ball fitting before. So that's something that I might actually look into. But one of the big positives about the TP5, as well as being comfortable using it and knowing its capabilities, is this pattern. I think it's brilliant. When you put with this, when you chip with this, it does look really cool. And I don't know if it's just the way that it rolls, the way that it frames behind the putter. I've absolutely no idea. But I think it looks brilliant. And if it looks good and if you feel confident with something, then why wouldn't you give it a go? There are some other things that might be changing. For example, the bag that they're going to be going, some of the tech that I'm going to be using on the golf course, but I'm still experimenting around with a few of those things. So I don't just want to start lumping those in if I'm not going to be using them once we get on the golf course. So let me know what you think about my bag. What is your favorite part? Which one of these clubs would you most like to have in your bag? And one thing that I really feel is when I look down at these clubs, it's just lucky. You know, to be in this position to make this type of video, to be in a position to be able to test all these clubs is just amazing. So a huge thank you for you watching this. You're the ones that make this all possible, and hopefully by getting these clubs, by doing these tests and by doing these videos, you get back something in the form of entertainment, information, whatever it may be. And we are done. A massive thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, like this video, and remember there is that giveaway going on, so make sure that you enter that for a chance to win the sections of this bag. We will see you down here next time, hopefully with all this out on a golf course.